economy. Many of them say they can no longer afford the now expensive transport fares and are not and they are actually making part of their journey on foot. That's the latest we're getting, because transport fares have been increasing in some threefold, and of course we've seen that consecutively over the days in response to the high fuel cost, spare parts and general hardship in the country. Some terminals, of course, we've seen passengers who are not willing to use them. There's more in the following report.
From January 2022 till date, transport fares have been increasing almost every quarter. So has the margins been for petroleum products. This has not enthused motorists and commuters who say they are at their wits' end.
Madam, we told unit, we to banker, light bill, water. It is a mayor Jumana, me didn't have a thought this idea. That's mean Jumano. I mean pay like private Juma being here. Like by this time, I mean call like 3 and 4.
According to him, he's been in this business for the past 40 years. He has never for once seen this astronomical increase in transport fares for the past 40 years that he's been working. He also says that by this time of the day, he would have at least gone to Wireless and back to Circle at least 2 or 3 times. But at the same time today, he's just gone once and he's still in his vehicle. No one is coming to sit in, no passenger. Why? Because he says now the passengers are walking. When I asked him what he thinks that government can do to support them, he says he thinks government can actually do nothing, because if government could have done something, government could have done it by now. He is actually asking Ghanaians to pray, because the way the situation is as at now, he thinks it is only prayer that can solve it. Otubia, a father of 3 who drives a Volvo, says he cannot afford to fuel his vehicle any longer and has therefore resorted to using public transport, which he thinks is relatively cheaper.
Normally I drive cars, but because of the fuel prices, I have to come into the trotro. And even now on the trotro, it's not an easy affair at all.
How much did you have to now spend on fuel that you have to pack?
Depending, but look, I have children, younger children, and I can spend 200-300 cedis a day around Accra when my children have to eat. I can't even provide for them adequately. So it's a very difficult life.
Some persons who already have been patronizing public transport say they now have to trek half of the journey.
Oh, it's really affecting, because when you take 20 cedis for only transport a day, it's too much.
At the heart of this is bus conductors who have had to bear the brunt of passengers. One of them, Richard, says he's received several insults from passengers due to the fares.
Oh, they say they will be forgot so patrol. Yes, they say I am from patrol full car beam. Obi wants to shut up at DJ keke. On to go no matter there. I made
These vehicle owners, some of whom say they've been driving for more than 2 decades, say they are considering changing jobs.
Davi, me who be that, and I the everybody is here also there. Annoying.
For JoyNews, I am Hannah Odami.
Let's stay on the issue of transport fares, because there is a call for an increment in fare charges for online drivers, as recent research reveals that most of these drivers make on the average a loss of 112 Ghana cedis. According to the latest research conducted by Fairwork Ghana in collaboration with GIZ and partners, costs such as fuel, spare parts and poor conditions of service are responsible for the worsening condition of the online drivers. Let me bring through now Dr. Joseph Budu, who's with the team, joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much, sir, for your time here on The Pulse. Let's start off with the need for the increment. What margins will be appropriate to reverse this trend of the worsening conditions of these online drivers?
Thank you very much. Business your viewers. Any rate that is commensurate to the current inflation rate will be okay.
You're saying that they are making on the average a loss of about 112 cedis. But how did you come about that figure?
Okay, so we use an average of 10 trips a day, and if you use an average of 20 Ghana cedis per trip, you would see that the driver will be making 200 Ghana cedis a day. Now, part of this, 20% of this amount goes to the platform. If you take out, there are some drivers whose vehicles are owned by, have car owners, so they have to pay about 75 cedis to the car owner. The driver also has to buy maybe some 10 cedis for data and airtime to make calls to customers. They have to buy fuel. Fuel is about 40% of their income. Now it may go up because of the current prices. And they have to put some aside for maintenance. If you put all this together, you arrive at a loss of 112 Ghana cedis a day.
And looking at the time in which we find ourselves, Ghanaians are having to pay also more for transport services. There's also a hike in fuel prices. So if we're to do this, how cautious should we be so as not to collapse the industry? Because mind you, once the prices are going up, a lot more people would want to opt for the alternatives.
Yes, the alternative should also be sustainable. So we just showed a clip of what is happening on the market. What is happening in the digital platform doesn't reflect what's on the market. The platform prices don't reflect the increased fuel prices. So the platforms want to maintain low prices so that consumers can still patronize their platforms, but it doesn't reflect the fuel prices. So if you charge, if a driver is making 200 cedis a day, last week, I think, no, on Tuesday, I was going to buy fuel. Half tank cost me 270 Ghana cedis for a 1.6 liter vehicle. And these are the cars, kind of cars they drive. So if he's buying half tank, even lesser than half tank for 270 cedis, and he's earning 200 cedis, the person cannot fuel the tank for them to make the trip. So what we are saying is that they should adjust the prices. The driver doesn't have a say in how much a trip costs, and that is not fair. So adjust the prices to match the market conditions so they can also make ends meet, at least cover their costs.
And there's this poster, correct me if I'm wrong, about the ride-hailing apps, and they have a special contract with each and every individual online driver. So that's how unique the situation is. So you may not necessarily have them responding to these issues en bloc.
Yes, it's unfortunate. So this issue comes to the platforms allowing the drivers to form driver unions. They don't want to recognize the driver unions,
right?
Because not every driver can articulate or make an argument for himself or herself for such increments. So they have to form unions. And when they form the unions, the platforms don't want to recognize them. They treat them as independent contractors. But these are independent contractors who cannot charge for their services. Their charges are imposed on them. So there is this irony in the situation. If they are independent contractors, allow them to submit invoices per contract that you issue to them so that they can charge. But you want to impose your charges on them and even force them to go to places that they don't want to go. You block them and you remove them from your platform when they refuse to go for a certain trip. And that is also an unfair situation.
And so at Fair Work Ghana, what do you intend to do to deal with the concerns?
So at Fair Work Ghana, based on our yearly reports last year and this year, we engage the platforms individually. We show them some good practices that other platforms are currently engaging in, with the hope that our advocacy will encourage them to also mend their ways to be fairer to their own platform workers. So for instance, there was one platform whose contract was signed under Spanish law. Through our negotiations, they have now changed to Ghanaian law. Okay. Another platform, the Black Ride, didn't recognize driver unions. This year in June, they have signed a memorandum of understanding with the driver unions to recognize them and to take their input when they are making any decisions concerning the drivers on the platform. So this is where, and we are also preparing a policy brief to submit to government so that it will guide government in taking legislative decisions concerning this digital platform and their workers.
Okay, but then specifically in your findings, which of the ride-hailing apps are noted for these quote unquote unfair act that you say they are engaged in?
Okay, so we found two platforms. We have a scoring criteria which is over 10.
Okay.
We have five scoring areas or score areas. We have fair pay.
Right.
This is where we are saying that platforms should be able to ensure that their workers at least earn a living wage or a minimum wage. Then if they can do more, the workers will earn a living wage. Then we talk about fair conditions. This is where we are saying that platforms should be able to protect their workers against the risks of the job. Then we also have fair contracts. That is where we are saying that platforms should give their workers contracts that are easily understandable so that they don't have to read cumbersome contracts to be able to start working. And then we have fair representation. We are saying that platforms should recognize that workers have a right to form unions so that when they form unions, they should be recognized. And then fair management, there should be due process if you want to punish or seek redress with any worker. So there are two platforms that scored 5/10 this year. The rest scored 0. The two platforms that scored 5/10 are Global and the Black Ride. The rest of the platforms we scored, which all got 0, are Bolt Food, Phoenix, InDriver, Jumia Food, Swift Wheels, Uber, and Yango.
Are there any other adverse findings beyond just the issue about the charges? Because these drivers for some time have also complained about their security. The fact that you order a service, but they are not aware of where they're heading until the ride is confirmed.
Yes, so where security issue comes under fair conditions, none of the platforms we scored apart from the Black Ride was able to provide evidence that when the driver or the worker is on the job, they are secured. It's only Black Ride that has, and through our negotiations, they have now made or opened up the possibility for the driver to know where the customer or the rider is going. Now they have what they call verified drivers and unverified drivers. So the verified riders, these are riders who have registered in the app as customers with their Ghana card. So the driver knows who is actually coming to board and where the person is going. In today's discussion, we had some drivers issuing or expressing some regrets or challenges with having unverified riders because we don't have any unverified drivers on the platform. So they also do not want any unverified riders. And that is another discussion that we are going to engage in with the Black Ride to remove all unverified riders. So some are taking action to verify or to solve these security challenges.
Dr. Budu, we're grateful for your time here on The Pulse. And